GM, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is Sunday, the 9th of March, 2025. I wanted to give you a very quick update on the market because Bitcoin is currently breaking down as we see it. It has lost this trend line support that I've been watching this weekend, and now we are looking like we're going to come down probably to lower levels. I would say first stop would probably be around about sort of 80 to 81,000 unless obviously we find some support before then. Obviously, we've got some previous lows around 82 here. So potentially between 80 and 82,000 is going to be the next stop for Bitcoin as it's breaking down. Obviously, big news coming on Friday with the White House Crypto Summit, which ended up being a complete nothing burger, as a few of us expected. And we had a big announcement actually on it was on the Thursday night for me. So it would be Thursday evening if you're in America, with David Sachs coming out and confirming that President Trump has signed or was to sign an executive order to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We have found out the details of the strategic Bitcoin reserve, and that it will start with any government seized Bitcoin being used to fund that reserve. But there's no further details or information about the US government actually going out and buying new Bitcoin or acquiring Bitcoin. And they have said if they do, it will be at no cost to the taxpayer. They want it to be pretty much I think, sort of a tax or a spend neutral policy. So whatever that means. So, anyways, the market is obviously, had bought into the rumor. That's probably why we got the price sort of pushing up into Thursday, close towards sort of 92, 93,000. Couldn't hold those levels, and we've really just been selling off since. So, not too surprised, unfortunately. And I just wanted to, in terms of like a bit of a sentiment check, obviously, occasionally I'll watch the odd other video. This is a comment that I saw under another video that I saw a couple of days ago, and it reads, "I'll just hold for now. I'm not selling. I'm in strong coins. They will come back." I mean, I could almost sort of clip this and put it into a meme. It sounds to me just like complete complacency from a lot of investors. And if we look at that, you've probably seen it all before, the Wall Street cheat sheet. It looks like we've just literally gone the other side of the peak and we're in the complacency phase. And after that comes, the denial, the sort of anxiety, I think capitulation, then it's anger, then it's depression, and it's a very, very steep drop down from that area. And someone's asking what coins. Same, just going to keep dumping my wages into coins every week. Same, even if the bear market comes today, I'm cool with my holdings multi-cycle. If anything, why not? Ideal, we can handle it. So the message really from retail here is they're bag holding. They're refusing to sell. They're buying more. They think that these are good prices. And I can just tell you, let's just sort of take a little bit of a check at where we are here and sort of say where we've come from. Obviously, we came from 15,000 all the way up to 110,000 over the space of 23, 24, over the space of practically 2 years. And like, this is Bitcoin. This is obviously the best performing asset. A lot of obviously not that strong, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of where we potentially could be in the cycle. If we're saying that potentially we've made a top and we're starting to roll over into a bear market, it for me would be the equivalent of buying Bitcoin in this range, around the 50,000, 48 to 50,000 range. That first kind of push down, confirming this as a local high, would be buying. And then I guess the question is, look, actually, is it this first peak? Do we make a second peak? In which case, are you buying around these levels? Are you actually buying in the 30s? And are you going to be able to get, potentially a 70, 80% move higher? I mean, if you were sort of buying around here, then you're looking at about right up to the top, almost a 90%, actually just over a 90% move. So almost a 2x. So are you buying today, looking at potentially getting a 2x later on in the year? Or are you sort of buying in here? And if you go out for uh, the year until when would it have been? It would have been to December. Then are you looking at potentially a sort of 60, 70% loss? And that's on Bitcoin. So let's not forget, altcoins underperform Bitcoin, especially in bear markets. If Bitcoin goes down 60, 70%, you can best believe your favorite altcoins will be going down a good 90 to 95%. That's not fear mongering. That's just being completely honest. I mean, let's take retail's favorite Solana and let's see what that did from bull market high to bear market low. It was down 96%. And if we were to do something similar, now I'm not saying we are going to do something similar, but if we were to do something similar, you can see that would put us right back down to around $10. Obviously, you could say Solana's more established. It's got a lot more applications. It's got potentially going to get an ETF later this year. Absolutely, I take your point on board, and potentially we only go down 85% or 90%. It's still a massive drop, and even from these levels to get, say, down to around about $30, then let's just make sure I capture that out here. If we had to go down to say around about $30 on Solana, which I think is possible, then you're still looking at almost an 80% dip. So obviously, this is the hopium. These are optimistic. Some of these paths are very optimistic, and I'm just trying to sort of show you that at the moment, like, you need to be careful because yes, you might have a 2x to the upside, but you also might have a 60, 70, 80% move to come to the downside from these prices, not even from the all-time high. So it's just, important to be very realistic about where we are. The market is showing weakness. We are breaking down again on a weekend. It's not even waiting until Monday. That's not a very good sign for the week ahead. Of course, weekend, low liquidity. This might just be a move by the market makers to get longs out of the market, and maybe we do go higher. I mean, if we look at the longs to shorts on Binance, we can see longs are stepping in here. So we've got 70% long accounts versus 29.9, call it 30% short accounts. So longs are outweighing shorts 2 to 1, and usually this is a bearish sign. Usually the market maker will see this and say, well, there's a lot more liquidity, there's a lot more money for us to grab if we actually bring prices lower. So I think, unfortunately, that might be what is going on. If we look at the liquidation heat map, this is the 1 week liquidation heat map. So a little bit longer term, we can see you do have plenty of liquidity under the price here. Price is actually closer to the liquidations now to the downside, and they kind of run all the way down to about 81,000. Potentially, we could go back and retest the lows. Obviously, there is liquidity above us as well. So we might start to turn around if we can put in a low here and get back above. I would say we'd need to really get back above 85,000. Then we can look to squeeze up to around about sort of 88,000 early next week. So that's your hopium, but there isn't really too much else I see here. So in the short term anyway, I think, the risk is on here. The risk is on to the downside. We are breaking down, like I say, as we speak. If we just go on to, I think I've got a chart here. Might be this one. I know I've got a channel here drawn. There we go. So we're in this channel, basically this channel here on the 4 hour, and I'm thinking to myself, look, maybe this low holds. If it doesn't hold, then if we actually came down over the next couple of days and intersected with this channel, it would be low 70s we'd be looking at. So potentially that is where we go. And it's quite interesting when we actually look at the low 70s, because if I just go back to the weekly chart, you will see low 70s. We've actually got some support coming in. I think, some reasonable support. To be honest, there's not a lot around here. we ran up very, very quickly. We didn't have the opportunity to create any meaningful support on the way up. So, I really think this low likely gets taken out. And where may we come down to? Well, if you look down here, we've got this red moving average, which is our 50 simple moving average on the weekly scale. We've also got this ascending trend line, which takes the lows from the summer. So that is also coming into play. We've got the previous high from early last year. This was obviously following the ETFs. We went up to 74K, consolidated, eventually broke out. So this was our high from last year's consolidation before we broke out. So we might come back down and retest that. You'd expect there to be buying and support stepping in there. And the other thing we've got, so, you've got 1, 2, 3 metrics or levels there of support coming into the price. We have also got the Gaussian channel, the weekly Gaussian channel just below. This is about to close for a week. That's probably going to tick up into this yellow box here, and that is going to be further support. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 things that confluence around the sort of 73 to 74K level currently. And also, if we just look at our RSI, we can see the bearish divergence is still in play. But I would like to think that if price can start to turn around here, then potentially this can start to tick back up, break through this descending trend line. And if that were to happen, along with us successfully finding support around here and starting to look like at least be looking to be putting a low in with that breakout, I would then be a lot more confident at adding risk back into the market. But right now, full disclosure, I'm still 100% in spot and Bitcoin, around about 80% spot, 20% Bitcoin. I'm not looking to increase that heavily right now. I am waiting for us probably to come around 75 down to 72,000 is the next zone that I'll be accumulating spot Bitcoin at least. And then obviously waiting for more confirmation to actually add more aggressively and potentially look at leverage longs again on the market. So that's the overview of Bitcoin. And like I say, potentially we get something quite quick, a quick reaction from that level, and we start to push on higher. Potentially it ends up being more drawn out. Like I say, these are the 3 paths that I've shown before that, I stick by. I'm waiting for a reaction at this level. There's absolutely no change to any of these paths right now. They still seem to be playing out as far as I can tell. And obviously I've got the more bearish path. And really, if we were to come and start to close any weekly candles under this 50 moving average and in this weekly Gaussian channel, that is when I will start to go from being sort of 50-50, bullish, bearish. I'm not too sure right now. I need more confirmation. That would be my bearish confirmation. So that would me be saying, okay, I was right to be in cash. I'm not interested in getting back into the market. I'd probably sell, say, another 10% of my portfolio from Bitcoin into spot, just leaving 10% of my portfolio in Bitcoin, 90% in spot, because there'll always be a little bit of Bitcoin that I want to keep as a long-term bull. But the thing is, if this does happen, I don't see how we don't come to much lower prices over the next year. So that is the risk. That is obviously, if you're bullish this market, that's kind of like your worst case scenario. But I would say from here, we probably do get a bounce, an opportunity to get out. This would probably trap a lot of people before inevitably we do sell off down to lower levels. And then this is going to be a fantastic buying opportunity. So, if you're prepared to be patient and if you're prepared to be disciplined, read what's going on in front of you and get out the market when it's telling you you need to get out, which would be a close in this weekly Gaussian channel, then you're going to protect your capital and you're actually going to be able to buy Bitcoin, which is, my favorite asset, could be your favorite asset as well, at much, much lower prices. But it's certainly not a good idea just to get married to the position, just to go all in here thinking, look, it's on a discount. Bitcoin is whatever it is down. Is it 20% down or something along those lines right now. I mean, yeah, 22% down, big sale, jump in with everything you've got, and then it drips lower and lower and lower. You're pulling your hair out for 1 year, thinking, why doesn't it go back up? And it gets down to here, and you've got no money left to buy. That is not what you want to do. So, I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to keep you out of this market. You can see in the past when we closed any weekly candles in this Gaussian channel, we come out through the other side of the Gaussian channel. We didn't do it there, which was good. We did exactly the same thing in the last bull market, closed into the Gaussian channel, went all the way through it and out the other side. We even did it in 2019 when we got above it. We closed back into it, couldn't get out of it, and went through the other side. So that's just something to be very much aware of. I just want to make sure everybody watching this is fully aware of the risks, because I feel like I have a responsibility to certainly, cover both sides. Obviously, I very, very much hope that this cluster of support here holds and we see higher prices, you know, pre-summer. If not, I think the next most likely scenario, by the way, I think one of these two scenarios I'm showing you with the price making another high is more likely. I'm just trying to show you there is a third possibility where potentially we don't. And I'm leaning towards something like this. I'm leaning towards some sort of recovery and, higher prices probably by the end of the year. And, what does that look like for some of the other altcoins, for something like Ethereum? Probably follows a similar path. Um, I think maybe this is a little bit optimistic to expect this move to happen through the summer, but actually, this would probably catch a lot of people out because people are already starting to go quite bearish. But if we do come down to, 1800 or even down to 1500, you can just imagine how many people are going to want to completely capitulate and give up on Ethereum here and never want to buy it again. And this would probably be the place that we do bottom if we do get down there. And then, of course, starts to rally up. Nobody trusts the rally. Why would you? Bitcoin is still maybe chopping around, and we actually then finally see Ethereum outperform. Of course, by the time we get here, everybody is calling for alt season and everyone's starting to pile into alts. And maybe that ends up being the top. Maybe we just sort of fake up here, and that's the top. And then everybody is screaming alt season, like, come on, break out, and it never happens. It's gonna be tough, is what I'm trying to say. But like I've said, I'm going to be here every step of the way. I'm doing weekly videos. If I can't always do a daily video, I'll definitely make sure I do, at least 2, 3 videos every week, a couple in the week, one at the weekend. However I can do it, I will make sure I'm here with you every couple of days, updating you, letting you know exactly what I'm seeing in this market and what I believe this market is about to do. So that's really it from a crypto perspective. And we also have to consider that, it's not just crypto that's been affected. It is also the macro that is impacting crypto. And you can see how the dollar is starting to break down. So I think if we're looking again for hopium, if we're looking for positive signs, it's going to come from the dollar. The dollar is without doubt breaking down, without doubt weak. And, if the dollar sort of comes down to this level over the next few months or over the next year, that is going to put a major, major tailwind behind cryptocurrency in the stock market. But also at the moment, you can also say that, well, if the stock market is selling off, if Bitcoin's selling off and the dollar's selling off as well, then this can also mean there's less appetite for US stocks and US assets. And I really think those three paths I just shown on Bitcoin, whether it's going to be a quick recovery, a slower recovery, or going into a bear market, I think a lot of that is going to come down to what the stock market does. So as you can see, the S&P has now hit its 50-week moving average. So obviously we've looked at the 50-week moving average on Bitcoin. Now we're looking at the S&P index. So this is the top 500 stocks in the US. And you can see that this is a major, major moving average that we have actually found as support. And you can also see we've got a couple of trend lines in here. I think this one has kind of been invalidated, but you can see we've got a couple of trend lines in here and trying to think where that trend line is, how that trend line's been drawn. Maybe it's not relevant. Okay, it's these two lows here. Obviously they come in the same week. Okay. Don't know why I can't see that on the weekly. But anyways, you can see we have found support off this trend line. And also we are holding the 200-day moving average as well. Obviously, the 50-week moving average is down here too. We've got the high from July last year, which was a major high for many months. It took us about sort of 4 5 months to get above that high, then got back tested. So this is a key area for the stock market to hold on to. And, if it holds this level and starts to turn around, then, it's realistic to assume that Bitcoin and eventually crypto might follow. So, and it's very, very similar on the NASDAQ as well. We've got similar sort of trend lines running down that the market has found support on. We've got an ascending trend line too. We've got obviously the 200-day moving average has been lost, but so far the NASDAQ has found support on its 50-day moving average. If we look at the last correction, which was last summer, we also found support on that 50-day moving average. And obviously the NASDAQ is the top 100 tech stocks. And, obviously we are going through a complete awakening of sort of AI and, Nvidias and your Palantirs and your Teslas. They're all really starting to wake up and have been blasting higher over the last couple of years based on this AI narrative. And, they're currently on some big discounts. So I personally have been looking at Tesla myself. I'll actually very quickly show you what I've been looking at when it comes to some stocks, just so you have an idea. If, crypto is going slow, then potentially stocks could be something of interest. And you can see with Tesla, 200-week moving average, major weekly support level. You can see we've got a you've got this trend line basically coming in from 2023 high, 2024 high before the breakout, so July high, and then it's now working as some resistance here. We've also got this ascending trend line. So we've got two trend lines, sorry. We've got three moving averages, and we've also in the golden pocket in the 618 to 0.65 fib. So again, there is support here on Tesla. I've heard a few people talking about trying to see if I can see it on this chart. There should be another gap somewhere. It's probably easier to see on the daily. We do have a daily gap somewhere. Yeah, so we do have a gap here down to 217. And at 217, we've also got the 0.786 fib 2. So potentially Tesla comes down to $217. That's the next target. That's why at the moment I'm DCAing. I've not gone all in on Tesla. And obviously, if this low does break, then we might come down lower. And to be honest with you, yeah, Nvidia quickly as well. You know, just on a weekly, I think Nvidia has found some weekly support here. So not any moving average support, but it's found support from the golden pocket, which is wicked through, and also this flag pattern as well. So potentially that could be a bull flag that Nvidia looks to actually break out from if it can hold this level. So a lot of people are starting to get very bearish on stocks. I think there's probably more bearish stock investors than there are crypto investors, which is crazy, right? I mean, stocks are always going to have a bid. You're always going to get people with their 401ks, with their sort of retirement accounts, with their pension plans, doing sort of weekly, monthly DCA buys into the big cap stocks, especially the Mag 7 stocks, which Nvidia and Tesla are part of. And there's always going to be this relentless bid coming in. But when you actually think about the cryptocurrencies, then there's always going to be selling. There's relentless selling because there's always token emissions and there's always unlocks and there's always insiders dumping their bags on the market. Whereas stocks are the opposite. You've always got people out there that are drip feeding monthly investments and savings plans into these stocks. So stocks naturally should just trend higher, whereas cryptos naturally should just trend lower. So actually, what you want to be doing, in my opinion, in times like this, if there is an asset class to look at going into, I mean, if you're sat in cash and you absolutely can't stand the fact that you're holding fiat currencies or stable coins, and you absolutely have to have some market exposure here because you're still bullish on the narrative. You still think there's going to be rate cuts. There might be a Fed pivot coming at some point, at least away from QT. Then I think stocks are going to move first. Honestly, it's absolutely out of any question for me to see how cryptos make all-time highs before the stock market makes all-time highs. So, my personal strategy with my wider portfolio is to DCA stocks right now. In terms of the crypto money and the stable coins, like I say, I'm in cash, and obviously I've explained to you what I'm doing on Bitcoin and what I'm looking for on Bitcoin. But yeah, I do think stocks probably get a move on from these levels, at least for some sort of bounce. And then, of course, if you come down again, then potentially you can look to cut if some of these levels get lost. But and just looking at where we could go from here, then of course, I think the next obvious area for me anyway would be the 618. But if we lose that, then you've got this 100-week moving average on the NASDAQ, and this comes down to sort of highs back in early last year and the lows from sort of the middle of last year, which, yeah, summer last year, summer lows. I would say to myself, should the market really be going below last summer's lows just due to a few tariff headlines? I mean, obviously there's a bit more to it than that with the growth, unemployment, and rates still being restrictive. But in my opinion, this wouldn't make a lot of sense unless things really, really start to break. So that for me, yeah, I can't really see us going below the lows from last summer on the Nasdaq at least. And to be honest, the same with the S&P. I don't think we get that low. Personally, I think we would find support at the 100-week moving average if the 50-week doesn't sort of hold. And just based on sentiment, like I say, I think people are getting a little bit too afraid and a bit too fearful right now on the stock market. I do think this has a good chance of turning around from these levels, but we will have to see. So, I'm going to wrap it up there. That's everything I had to say. Obviously, just quickly recapping again on Bitcoin, you can see with what we just spoke about today, Bitcoin under some pressure. I still think more so than ever that we are looking at coming down into the mid to low 70,000s on Bitcoin. I don't see a massive breakdown from that level in the short term. I think this is where buyers will step in, even if it's just for a temporary bounce and we end up going lower after that. I do think you get a bounce from there, and that will be the next level I'm looking to buy. Or if we, of course, on the shorter time frame, start to see some more strength, and for me, what we really need to see to get more bullish on this market is going to be back above this previous swing high at 95,000, starting to close candles back above this long-term trend line and back into this range above sort of 92. That would then start to look like a deviation, and we could get more optimistic and look for more upside. But yeah, still playing a little bit defensive for now. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's analysis. Let me know if you've got any feedback, any comments, if there's anything you'd like me to cover in videos, if you've got any requests, if you've got any suggestions, please do let me know in the comments down below. And if you have appreciated the content, then I would really, really appreciate smashing the like, sharing it with any friends if you think they would benefit. Obviously, I'm trying to give the most honest take I can right now to help everybody that's watching this make the right decision going forward. And if not done so already, please do subscribe, because I'll be back with more updates. I'm going to do a another video later to maybe later today, tomorrow, but at some point over the next couple of days, just on some hedge short opportunities. So some cryptocurrencies that I think are very, very overvalued and actually should be heading down a lot further over the next few days and weeks. Some of you that watch my content regularly can probably guess what some of these cryptocurrencies are going to be. There's a couple of cryptocurrencies that I have sort of picked out and sort of bashed a bit, shall we say, on a couple of my videos. So I will be taking a look at those and talking about what my levels and targets are for those and what I'm looking to do with that. And it's just really to hedge the Bitcoin that I'm currently holding. And yeah, obviously there'll be regular updates on the market throughout the week. So have a great day and talk to you all on the next one. GM, 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 GM.